Hey there, y'all, and welcome to today's Daily Down and Dirty. My name is Fairlight. Welcome to Airy Fairy Tarot. All right, y'all, the message today, there's a couple of messages, and it's interesting. There seems to be like a slowdown and then a speed up. We just had Saturn move into Aries, so I was expecting like more of an exciting action kind of thing, and really it's more of a heartbreak kind of reading. So the message today is choosing confusion because the truth hurts. Yeah. So sorry for whoever's needing to hear this, but first we're going to start with this beautiful oracle deck. Yesterday was my Auntie Nina's birthday, and she got me this deck for my birthday. So I want to start with one card, then do the tarot reading, and then end with another card. So we start with the Keeper of Ease. This is that slow down so much. We weren't raised to work with the ebb and flow of energies. We were raised to determine a course of action, have a goal, and stick to it. The message has been, if it's challenging, uphill, exhausting, or overwhelming, keep going. Suffer the hardship because it makes the reward so much sweeter. This has led us to go against our own divine nature, punishing ourselves with struggles that feel uphill and suffocating. But the way of the source is to work with the flow. Now is the time to turn off the should in your mind. Turn your energies downhill. Let go of the idea that your dream or decision requires you to toil. Yes, you are in for hard work and commitment, but no, you don't get extra points for suffering. Let others have that battle. You? It's your time to relax. Call on your invisible allies. Let source and its flow be your partner in this achievement. So I dig that. So it's time to just kind of take some ease. Then when we get into the tarot reading, I'm kind of grateful to start it with that. You know, just be gentle with yourself, because it looks like whoever this is for is kind of going through a lot right now with all the transitions and whatever. We've got a bunch of major arcanas. The two on top is the Tower reversed and the Moon reversed. And, you know, with the Tower reversed, it can be about avoiding a disaster. But with the Moon reversed, it can be because there's a lot of confusion, maybe even feeling like you're crazy. And so maybe you're feeling crazy because you're avoiding the disaster. You're so trying to keep things, hold on to what you have, but it's crazy making because you know, maybe it's just not really nourishing for you. Sometimes we just have to allow life to change, even if that means letting go. So we've got these two tens, both reversed. We've got the 10 of Swords reversed and the 10 of Cups reversed. And then we've got the 6 of Cups upright. So it looks like you're trying to hold on to something and you are restarting a pattern where you know it's over, but it kind of feels like a love reading, like maybe a partnership is time to end, but this is my soulmate. And so it's like you're choosing to stay in a miserable situation. And it doesn't have to be a romantic thing. This could be any situation. This could even be staying in a toxic situation with your own family, with your parents or whatever, and you're just trying to maintain the status quo. So really this could apply to all areas of your life, childhood friends, whatever it is. But it's like, you know, you're staying looped in a toxic pattern with the belief that you're expected to, because this is a childhood pattern for whatever it is. Maybe you've known him since childhood. This is your soulmate. This is however you want to look at it. Tens indicate the completion of a cycle. And with two tens here, both of them being reversed, it just feels like it's saying, you know that it's time to let go. You know it's time to close this pattern. 10 of Cups reversed is like, it's superficial happiness. This isn't really the fulfillment that you want to make it out to be. And I wonder, are you lying to yourself? And I kind of feel like if there are two people involved, the other person is probably just as miserable as you are. The other person is probably hanging on for the same reason. There could be other factors involved, of course, and maybe it's not a romantic thing, but it's very draining. When cups are reversed, it's draining. This is toxic. It's not the happy happily ever after that you're trying to paint it to be. And with that 10 of Swords, it's like you're lying to yourself, and maybe you're staying in a situation where you're being lied to. Either way, it's toxic. Maybe there's some sort of verbal abuse or mental abuse going on. There could be emotional abuse going on. You know, with the Ten of Swords, I always want to say, how many times does a person have to stab you in the back before you recognize they only have knives for you? And then often enough, if you have tried to leave and they've tried to pull you back, you know, with that, I always want to say, they know what you want. And the way you know they know what you want is that they've probably told you what you want to hear before. But when they bring you back into that timeline, they show you they don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about you want. They want you for what they want you for. And maybe it's to be like, you know, someone that they can abuse. I don't know, but it just kind of feels like this card is not strong enough to stay in this toxic situation. So then to move on, as far as toxic situation, we've got the Devil, king of toxic situations himself, the Devil, the Hanged Man, the Six of Swords reversed, and the King of Swords. So, you know, Six of Swords, when it's upright, it is about moving on. It's about leaving choppy waters for safer shores. With this being reversed, it says you're not moving on. You're not clarifying your truth. I want to go to these two, though, because it seems like you're hanging around hoping that this Devil situation is going to turn around. So you're just kind of hanging in there, not leaving, hoping that the situation will change. And you know, I'm sorry to say, but it's not going to change unless you decide to move on. It's not an easy reading at all, but sometimes it's what we need to hear. You're hanging around hoping, but all you're getting is more and more of this toxicity. And sometimes the more we feed into the toxicity, the more stuck we feel. Like, I can't leave. My finances are tied to this situation, or, you know, I've put so much energy, or, you know, someone's coming to mind. I did a reading recently. If it's not a romantic thing, he was his mother's caregiver, but his mother was extremely abusive and was isolating. He wasn't allowed to have a life outside of her abusive abusive treatment and her need for care. And it was like, you know, there's always a solution. There is always a solution. You know, something I mean, it doesn't need to end. You can stay in this situation, but just know that things will never change, and you're going to constantly feel confused, wondering what you did to deserve this. And it's like, well, it's not like you did anything to deserve this. It's not like you're being punished, or maybe you are. Maybe it's karma. Maybe you were an asshole in a past life, but you still have the right to choose now in this time in your life that you want different, that you don't want to be treated this way, or, you know, you don't want to stay in this situation, whatever it is. This toxicity, and, you know, this could be an addiction of any kinds. Maybe this is all an internal thing. Maybe you've had this addiction for a long time, and this could be anything from addiction to video games, to substances, to porn, to, you know, whatever, or it can be a codependent addiction, whatever it is. But again, so with this Hanged Man, it feels like there is a need to maybe detach from the situation. Again, it kind of all together, it looks like you're just hanging in there hoping it'll change. It's not going to change if you try to keep it the same. But maybe you see that this chain is binding his or her wrists, but the key is in their hands. And so the key is in your hands. The key is in your hands. I can't emphasize it enough. You can unbind yourself from this situation. The key is in your hands. It is about facing fears about change, you know. Once I leave this situation, and what do they often say? Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. But sometimes if you go in the direction of the devil you don't, you discover there is no devil, or you accept your own inner rascality, but then with that freedom to discover who you truly are without this binding toxic situation. And so, you know, often with the Hangman, there is a need to detach, even if you're not isolating, not completely leaving yet, but at least detach and get a different perspective. And I kind of get a sense that with this, because then you've also got this King of Swords, I kind of gives a sense that, like, you do see what's going on. Something in you is telling you that there's something really off about this situation. There's something that, what I kind of want to say, whatever kind of situation, whatever kind of toxic, if it's an addiction or whatever, beating yourself up probably won't give you the strength or courage to choose what's best for you. So with this Hanged Man and with this King of Swords, it feels like you need to kind of bitch up a little bit, not be anybody's bitch, but be a bitch to all the other things. Bitch up, I don't think I've ever said that, but it's like be a bitch and have your own back. Stand up for yourself, advocate for yourself, at least in your own mind, at least journal about like what could be better, at least recognize the situation for what it is. At least allow yourself to be illuminated and start admitting the truth to yourself, because that in itself will help facilitate a shift and help give you the courage to move on and move forward. Then there's so many different cards. We also have the Justice card reversed, with this Moon card reversed, and with the Tower card reversed. And it's like, it's a self-perpetuating imprisonment. It's a self-perpetuating self-punishment kind of a thing. You are choosing this, and recognize that you can make a different choice. And instead of putting yourself down or even villainizing the other person or villainizing the whole situation, even though it is a devil energy, recognize your part in it and recognize that you are sovereign and you can choose not to take part in this any longer. Even if it hurts you, even if it hurts other people, this toxicity is already hurting you. This toxicity is already hurting other people. So might as well hurt and break away in a healthy way and choose to be healthy, choose to, create a balance with yourself, create justice by tearing down the walls, burning that shit to the ground. Break down that construct of reality. You don't have to be imprisoned in it any longer, and get clarity about who you are and what it is that you want. Bring clarity to the confusion. And then you've got the Queen of Wands, and this is fire energy. This is power. She is the witch of the tarot. Suddenly your magic comes in. Suddenly you're manifesting solutions. I'm not doing this anymore. Suddenly you have a place to go live. Suddenly there's someone to take care of mom. Suddenly there's something, whatever fears are blocking you and telling you that you have to stay stuck in this situation, suddenly you are manifesting the solutions because your creativity comes into play. Your inspired action comes into play. Your passion, your desire, wanting more for yourself, wanting better, comes into action, comes into play. And then you've got the Six of Pentacles. Then the universe starts to provide the way for you. Suddenly the universe becomes very generous in providing new solutions, new ideas, new ways of looking at things, new pathways to go down. And then I'll end with the last oracle card that I have pulled. It's the Keeper of Solitude. And so in the meantime, maybe this is how you begin shifting and embracing your King of Swords energy, which is all about speaking your truth, clarifying the true justice that you want to bring into your life. I love that both of these cards came out. And knowing that you are fair-minded, and it's okay to see the imbalance in life, to see the injustices in your life, and decide to speak justice into your world. Decide that you are going to stand and advocate for yourself and bringing that balance. So again, we've got the Keeper of Solitude. There will be time for togetherness, but not now. This is a time for solitude. The spiral of your soul tree and its root system need your attention. It has songs to sing and dreams to sigh straight into your heart. But you can only hear their messages in the intentional quiet of solitude. Take this time to break away from the clan. Withdraw from the clamoring world outside and the one in your own mind. Nestle down with intentionality. Sometimes it takes willing aloneness to discover your belonging. The belonging to your soul tree, to the present circumstance and its challenges, to yourself. You belong to yourself. Have your back. Look in the mirror, look in your own eyes and say, I love you. I love you. I believe in you. I approve of you. I accept you. And no matter what, I got you. All right, that's all I have for today. Once again, my name is Fairlight. Thank you so much for watching. Peace and love until next time.